A big question a lot of students have and a lot of parents have is, do they need their parents' information? That's probably where we get the most questions, and quite frankly, we get the most questions, not from the students, but we get the most questions from the parents about whether or not they need to have their parental information. Dependent students will need their parents' information. Big thing is it's not related to tax filing. So whether the parents will claim them or not claim them, that's an IRS thing, but that's not a FAFSA thing. And so that's really the big one. Well, I don't claim them anymore, so why do they need my information? They need your information because the Department of Education says you do, but it's not based on the tax filing. If a student is independent, they won't need their parents' information. If there are some, and there is a whole section in the FAFSA, and if a student can answer yes to any other questions in the dependency section, they don't need the parents' information. If they have dependents, if they have children, if they're married, and then there's some other reasons. Now the big one on if they have children or if they have a child is not just having a child, but it's having a child and providing more than 50% support for the child. So if a student has a child and they live with their parents and they're not working, then they're still going to need their parents' information because the parents are supporting the child. So if they need the parental information, they'll use, and if parents are, and a big question is, if the parents are divorced or separated. So the FAFSA says, hey, you need your parents' information. So then the next question is, if their parents are divorced or separated, which parent's information do I use? Well, they use the parent that provided the most financial support or the one whose home they lived in. So if the parent is remarried, then they also have to use their step-parents' information also. Did I see a hand?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I just had a quick question. So what if a student, and we've had this fall into both categories, what if the parent that provides them the most financial support isn't the parent that they live with?
Okay, so typically you make the assumption it's the parent they live with, but if it's not, then they can use that parent that provided. So it's most financial support. In most instances, it's the parent they live with, but not in all instances.
Right.
So yeah, you'd use that parent that provided the most financial support.
Okay, thank you.
And again, if the parent is remarried, you use the step-parents' information also. Yes?
What about the students that actually live with their grandparents?
Okay, so the student that lives with their grandparents, but their parents do exist, they still need their parents' information. That's a very common one. If they live with their aunt and uncles, they still need that information. We're going to talk a lot more about that, but yes, ma'am.
I have a student who both of her parents were incarcerated, and her grandmother was awarded legal guardianship. Does that change the circumstances?
Legal guardianship or adoption?
Legal guardianship.
Okay, so there is a question on the FAFSA, and if the FAFSA is if they're in a legal guardianship, she may be able to claim, she won't use a grandmother's information, but she'll be able to file as a independent. And so there are several questions that will be there, and it's not just custody if they have custody, which is a little different than legal guardianship, but this is through a court.